Hello, Matt.
Hello.
Hey. Not only are we in the cantina, apparently the cantina has moved to Mustafar off of Tatooine.
Yeah, bought some property out here. It's nice. I got to fix the place up a bit, but it'll get there.
Awesome. Well,
it's a very hot property, from what I understand.
Hey,
hello.
I mean, we do know that for whatever reason, Darth Vader really attached himself to Mustafar.
Of all the I mean, you look out at the stars at night, and of all the places, why would you go there?
Why would you go there? Well, to be alone, I think. Right?
Well, there were inhabitants of the planet Mustafar. Now let's consider it is his birthplace. If you really want to think about it, that is the place where Darth Vader was born in a way.
Yeah.
From a certain point of view.
I guess.
From a certain point of view.
Could have gone to Naboo or something close.
Yes.
But you have to understand the aesthetic value of the Dark Lord walking around Naboo. You lose something, It's too tranquil. It's too nice.
That's true. Makes him a bit soft if he's picnicking by a waterfall.
Yeah, what's he gonna do?
Yeah. True.
Riding horseback and letting his cape blow in the breeze.
He's like tossing his red plaid picnic basket out there with some blue milk.
There is a limit. That's funny because I was a big fan of the Batman movies in the 80s and into the early 90s, the Tim Burton. And there's just certain scenes and settings that Batman should just never find himself. And that last one with Clooney, he's like just hanging at a party and he's like talking to government officials and stuff and police officers just out in the light of day. And Vader is kind of like that too. Like there's certain places you just don't want to see him hanging because it's so out of context.
Yeah. That's it. That's why he's there.
And so you look great, of course. And it's been a while, Matt. Last time we actually spoke to you was back in December with Skywalker Rises in Ohio, and you were kind enough to stop by our event at Playhouse Square in downtown Cleveland. And not much has happened since we last spoke. A few holidays, a global pandemic. Same old thing. The
world's pretty much the same, just another day.
I know that people are. They're thinking of their favorite TV shows, their movies that they're anticipating. I mean, you're very active in the business. What's it like for a working actor to be dealing with this situation?
Yeah, it's a bit weird. Obviously everything's shut down. No one's auditioning. No studios are going. I don't know how the studios are going to come back. I mean, there's a lot of talk right now about certain businesses opening in certain states and, whatever, hair salons and stuff. But, you obviously on a film set, I mean, there's 100 people standing around and there's close contact happening. You cannot avoid it. I don't know how it's going to come back anytime soon. But it's kind of crazy. I mean, for me, it's been all right because I finished a season of a show that I'm doing on Netflix, and we were not supposed to come back even if
Jupiter's Legacy, right?
Yeah, it's called Jupiter's Legacy. It's a superhero thing. It's going to be just a massive, epic Netflix show. But we were not supposed to even air that show until late this year or possibly even early next year. We didn't even have a date yet. So we were never supposed to be back shooting. So the only thing that this is kind of holding me back from is possibly another film or something. But, really, I'm just taking the time and just cherishing the time that I have here. We bought a place in Nashville and here with the family, and I'm just getting to see my daughter just grow every day. So, kind of on that more serious note, it's been really nice in that regard, just to have that family time. And I've got my dad here with me, and my wife's mom is here. So, we're just doing our thing and being safe and trying to enjoy the time together and take it day by day.
Excellent. Well, that's key. And of course, you work with Angela on her YouTube channel too, and that has just been going nonstop. So that must keep you guys busy a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. She, she has got the YouTube channel and she's got her blog, and we're constantly, doing stuff for that. And her business side of things has really actually picked up since all this COVID stuff. Obviously people are just at home watching YouTube and Netflix. So, YouTube content, people want it. And so, yeah, we're working hard on that and trying to, in between doing that, house projects. We bought this place and, playing a little golf here and there too. So,
so that's why you went to Nashville, huh?
Yeah, the golf courses.
Well, you'll find that the winters are very short. I lived there after college for a little over a year, and it's nice because you get a little bit of crisp in the air in December and January, but by end of February, it's like, for Ohio, you're an Ohio boy, it's more like late April, by the time you get to end of February. So you leap a couple of bad months.
I mean, you guys were just getting snow up there a few days ago, right?
Well, yeah. In the Chicago area, we were, and we'll probably be getting that until mid-June, maybe July. No,
sure.
It's weird. It is weird to be seeing snow for the longest time here, and because a lot of people came out here last year for Star Wars Celebration, and that was in the middle of April. And I'm still hearing from Star Wars fans today about the snowstorm.
Yeah,
and really, in the grand scheme of things, that was a very, very mild snowstorm. It just, the flakes were big, but nothing was sticking to the ground, really. But people were still freaking out about that. And some of them, I think, even kind of blame me for it. I don't know. Maybe it's my fault. I probably flipped a switch I shouldn't have. But we used to never see.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I got it. I do have weather controls here to my left.
That must have been expensive to get that little piece of tech in there.
No, they gave it to me. They said the burden is now yours.
Okay, all right.
And so they laugh at me, call me heat miser behind my back.
It's like the Santa Claus. It's sort of a blessing and a curse, Mother
Nature was like, I've had enough. I'm gonna give this to you.
Yeah. So they're like, who's the chump who will actually say yes to this? And they didn't tell me it's all just bad weather too. There's no switches for good weather on it. And we never saw snow in the Chicago area typically past St. Patrick's Day. It would be an oddity. And now 2 years in a row, we've gotten some decent April snowfalls. And I just want everyone to know that if Star Wars Celebration does come back in December, it'll probably be sunny and 70 here in Chicago. So it's just crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Well, we don't know. I mean, speaking of Star Wars Celebration, we don't know what's going to happen in August. I think we all can kind of guess. But it is, like Matt was saying earlier, it's kind of different all over the country. Some states are a little bit more aggressive and some not so much. So we'll see. I'm sure we'll all be together again, but I would love to see them do something sort of virtual. I think they could do some type of maybe one day of streaming programming or something like that. That's becoming so commonplace. And, Matt, as you were saying, your wife and you are ahead of the game on that, because that's becoming a primary way people communicate now. And if you're in the entertainment business and you don't know how to stream, you're kind of lost.
Yeah. I will say some part of the thing that is so special about the celebrations is that we all do get together and just have fun and talk Star Wars. And I don't know. It's kind of fun getting together and just being with your family, I love that part of it, actually.
Yeah, it is. There's really nothing quite like it. There are a lot of conventions. You can go to comic book and sci-fi conventions, but Star Wars Celebration has its own unique vibe. And so let's talk a little bit of Star Wars. We are now just 2 episodes away from what we believe is to be the series finale of the Clone Wars. And this is, I gotta say, I mean, I'm sure you're hearing it all over the place. This is some of the most epic Star Wars storytelling that has been seen in a very, very long time. So it's got to be gratifying for you to be part of it. Jimmy Mack and I, he sort of coined the term. This is the Clone Wars victory lap, for you guys, and you're going out on such an incredible high.
Yeah, it's so bittersweet for me. It is awesome. It is such a high, and I totally didn't expect to hear the Star Wars music. I didn't expect to hear John Williams, and when that popped up, I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Like, this is for real. Like, it's on.
Yeah, because you're seeing it a lot of times. This stuff first when we are.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, you guys know we would record this stuff so so long ago. I can't remember half the things that happen. And so much life happens outside. I can't remember what's coming up in the story, but little things like that. Maybe Dave might tell me in passing. Maybe he might not. He obviously has got so much on his plate, so I had no idea like that was coming. I had, they told us about the red logo and all that kind of stuff, and that was going to be different. But yeah, to see it all, I mean, that's just like the tip of the iceberg for these last couple of episodes we saw. The visuals are just leveled up, in my opinion. I mean, I was looking at Obi-Wan's face, and I said to Angela, I was like, look at Obi-Wan's face. It's so it's crazy. I mean, they've really, really won up themselves. They always do this. But it feels like they're just, throwing everything at this last arc. And everything is just operating, on all the cylinders. Everybody's acting, and obviously the storyline. I had so much feedback over the last week or two about making people cry, and I felt that same way. And not even in just those emotional scenes, but even even just watching Ahsoka fight, which I thought was really interesting. Watching her fight had nothing to do with Anakin. It made me sad for Anakin and their relationship, because I was actually thinking, I'm picturing them in a training session 2 years prior, and Anakin teaching her all these things and teaching her, and again, let's good but not good enough, and I'm picturing all this backstory that happened, and all the stuff that she's learned. And honestly, I feel like I'm getting emotional right now just thinking about it. There's so much depth there, watching this final arc, and knowing what's going to happen and what's happened in the past. And it's so sad. Like, I feel like I'm going to cry right now. But
and I agree with you, because we are finally at the end of the road as far as the Anakin Ahsoka relationship goes. And to think that they're never going to be spending time with each other at the Jedi Temple, dealing with Obi-Wan and his grumpiness, or going out on awesome missions together. It's like those days have come to an end. True, there are stories that could always be revisited, but we've really followed this along since Ahsoka hooked up with Anakin back in the film. And now here we're seeing her going off on her own to fight a war while Anakin tries to save the Chancellor. It's just, you do feel it a little bit. There's a certain finality to it all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that I've been getting a lot of the feedback too on my social media from people who have grown up with the show, who are teenagers now or young adults, and they've literally grown up with the show. And I know you guys feel this way too, because obviously life has happened for you. I feel we are all, as fans of the Clone Wars, bonded in this way, that we've been on this journey for so many years, and we associate things in our life with the Clone Wars, and talking to you guys and going to celebrations with all of our Star Wars family, and obviously for me it's been a unique experience. I've had bonded with castmates and been to Skywalker Ranch, and so I think there's the finality and the emotion of the storyline itself, and then I think there's the emotion and the finality to our real lives and how it's connected in with Star Wars and the Clone Wars and the people that we know, and we're not going to be doing this anymore, and it's just it's all sad, but it's exciting but sad.
Well, Matt, never say never, because we had this conversation back in 2013, if I recall.
Well, so that's true. It's true, but they, who knows? Maybe Clone Wars will come back, but I don't think I'm going to be a part of it. So,
well, they found it. They found a way to get you into Rebels. And
true.
They also found a sneaky way to get you into The Mandalorian as well. And you had a great cameo in that. But I just want to piggyback quick when what you were saying about you're watching the battle between Darth Maul and Ahsoka and how emotional that is for you. And it is for a lot of fans. I think that what's happened for me as a fan is that the connection between Ahsoka and Anakin has become so real that I can't watch Ahsoka in battle or, in a vulnerable position without thinking about Anakin as well, wishing he was there to come in and save the day. What would it be like if he was there to help her? And probably the biggest game changer for me as a fan is realizing in that moment when Obi-Wan tells Ahsoka that she should be the one to reach out to Anakin moments before he turns. Obi-Wan feels that she's the key to maybe bringing him back from the brink, though he doesn't know it's the brink, but he's got a bad feeling about this. And so now you're left with this, oh, what if only they could have connected, it might have turned out differently.
I lost you for a second there. Am I back on here?
Yeah, we got you. Sorry about that.
Okay. Yeah, so, the last thing I heard from you, Jason, was that Ahsoka might have been the one to kind of
to bring Anakin.
Around.
Yes, yeah. If it had Ahsoka been able to be that last touch point for Anakin rather than Obi-Wan, it could have maybe turned out different.
I don't know. These last episode or two add so much richness to the Star Wars saga, and really, I guess that's been the duty of Clone Wars this whole time, is to enrich the saga, and man, it just really continues to do that through these last couple episodes. Yeah,
we get you have to be careful here, Matt, because we've only seen the first two of the final four.
That's true.
So we don't want to walk you into some kind of quicksand situation here, but I got to ask. You seemed pretty firm on your assumption that should the Clone Wars return, Anakin you won't have anything to do with it. Why would you feel that way?
Well, I mean, he's Vader.
Yeah, right. I get it.
I mean,
so yeah, you're assuming then that the Clone Wars would continue then beyond.
He's saying they'd get that chump James Earl Jones to come in and do it instead of Matt.
Yeah, that guy.
That
guy. No,
I guess go on, Matt.
Yeah. I mean, I assume that if it were to go on, and he's Vader, then my services are no longer needed, unless there's some crazy creative way to do it. That's my assumption.
There could be. I never assumed that the Clone Wars would continue beyond the Revenge of the Sith timeline. I see it ending right where it should be ending.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that it is actually crossing into the actual Revenge of the Sith timeline, because that's something we've always wanted. Have you guys ever thought about that when you were shooting season 1? Like, how far are we going to go with this thing?
Yeah, I mean, when we were that early on, it was never talked about that. Are we going to get right up to Revenge of the Sith, or we just kind of were going? I think later it was kind of talked about, but at one point, before the Disney buyout and stuff, there was talk of like we were going to go 10 seasons, and as long as people loved it, we were going to make it. And that was
George. As long as George Lucas wanted to keep seeing it too.
Yeah, that was
quite honestly, George Lucas didn't care if anyone watched it or not. It's something he wanted, so he was going to make sure it was going to be a reality.
Yeah,
and so it must have been great to have that kind of confidence too behind you.
Yeah, I mean, if George wanted to tell those stories, George was going to tell the stories, and that was the bottom line. And so, we were making Star Wars before it got picked up by Cartoon Network. Because George does what he wants, and like I said, if he wants to tell the stories, he's going to tell the stories. So, yeah, I mean, I think early on it was just like, if we go 10, great. If we go 12, great. If we go, and so, then the whole kind of flip happened, and I think they kind of put a light at the end of the tunnel there. And
man, I know you're not privy, and I'm not trying to get you to speak out of school, but what do you think that it might have been that a company like Disney might have said, we should give this Clone Wars thing another look? Because, they came in, they said, all right, maybe this isn't the direction we want to take the brand. But it came back. Do you think that it's a testament to the fans? Is it about maybe them coming to some sort of conclusion, or what is it that you think brought it back?
Oh, 100% it's the fans. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's the fans are so passionate and so vocal of something they love, and I think you can't. How can you not listen to that? I mean, and I think Disney probably looking back and thinks, hey, I mean, it's actually a good product and people love it, and why would we not? So,
right.
And I think I think from a creative standpoint, it's also, it was the right thing to do to give a proper ending. And I think it was just a win-win, honestly, for everybody to bring it back. So it was kind of a no-brainer. That's my opinion. But
are you aware of any lobbying that might have been going on over the years behind the scenes by Dave Filoni and other creatives that were involved with the Clone Wars?
I really don't know. I tell you the truth, Dave doesn't really get into that type of stuff with us. He's such a professional that he probably wouldn't get into that type of stuff with us if there was behind the scenes things happening. Yeah, I mean, I just think that you kind of said it a minute ago. I think Disney got a hold of the company, and they were going a different direction. They had a different vision for a new set of characters and a new this and a new that, and Clone Wars just didn't fit into that anymore. And then I think when it went away and people they were so loud about it and in the best way possible, and they probably couldn't help but to listen. So,
and also look at the timing and the circumstances too, because you're dealing with an era of Star Wars where the sequel trilogy has come and gone now. It's completed. And so it's a really ripe era right now to be bringing back old characters and fleshing out their stories a little more, because it won't be competing with what you have in the theaters. And also, circumstance, Disney Plus. They need content for Disney Plus. What do we have that's in the pipeline that has been incomplete all this time that we can put a bow on and release finally that will get a reaction? Clone Wars is definitely in that category. So I think the will of the Force had something to do with it too, quite honestly. I'd like to think that way, but I think time and circumstance have a lot to do with the return of the Clone Wars, as well as the fact that the fans have been vocal and we have been vocal. And I think that that's really important for fans to realize that we actually do have a voice in this process. And if we like something, we should speak up about it. And if we dislike something, we should speak up about it. I think that's fair. And I think that's a good role and a healthy relationship for a film company and a fan base to have.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think it's so easy for fans to do now with social media. You don't have to take out a pen and write a letter and put a stamp on it. You just get in there and
send a tweet,
run a Twitter box or something, you know? Yeah.
Although social media was around when we did orchestrate the write-in campaign, Save the Clone Wars. And from what I understand, there was an avalanche of mail delivered to Lucasfilm back in 2013 when we were promoting that. So
that's awesome.
I think we dropped some CDs at Bob Iger's desk, some CDRs of people that recorded pleas to Bob Iger and the top brass at Disney to bring it back. And so, who knows?
Yeah, you never know. I truthfully, I was really sad to hear when we, when I talked to Dave and kind of said we were coming back to do this thing. It's gonna go where it's going, butting up to Revenge of the Sith. I was pretty sad about that because I was like, well, where else is it going to go now? Okay, if we're going to do that, it really.
So you're like,
really
so Dave, what happens to my character? So
well, yeah, I mean, I was like, if we go there, then how do we really continue? And maybe again, selfishly, maybe it's like, how do I continue to be a part of this? But I don't really see a way, and I see that butting right up to the film. It's a great way for them to end it. So. I don't know. I would love to see more. I've heard things in the past, not recently, but in the past about other potential, animated possibilities. But I honestly have no idea if those are even, a possibility anymore.
Well, as we said, you could see a return of this guy.
Hey, Davin, it's
somewhere.
Davin from the Mandalorian. Look how tough he is. And you know what's so cool about that character is his shoes. Bill Burr had something to say about Davin's shoes in that episode of The Mandalorian. Now, why did he say something about the shoes? He's like, yeah, nice shoes. What was up with that? They look like stormtrooper shoes almost. But
like why would you want to intimidate this guy that you're probably about to kill? Like why? Just build him up a little bit, That's just mean.
You had some,
What was
some
it
nice
like?
white Pat Boons on, I think.
Yeah. They looked uncomfortable too.
No, they were great. They were actually really great.
He's wearing
they
them
were like,
now.
They were like, yeah, they sent him home with me. Yeah, right. Can you imagine Lucasfilm letting go of a costume?
Oh God, no! It belongs
they
in a
were great.
museum.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I don't
no, they
know.
were
He
great.
just walked out of here with them on. I told him to stop. He just kept going.
Oh, they're so secretive about their stuff. You know, I had to wear a cloak every time I left my trailer to the stage, which was, I don't know, 30 steps. And I was in a studio lot. You know, it's not like I was out in, downtown LA. But yeah, you got to wear a cloak to go. We did a whole like body scan of the character, I guess, in case they want to make in case there's a big urge at the next celebration for a Davin action figure.
Oh, dude! So you've actually had the action figure scan done. I've not talked to anybody that's actually had the scan done. What is it like, an MRI? What are you in?
Yeah, they had to sedate me. No, it's you know what it is. So I think that literally every single character working on the show had to have a scan. It's just like protocol that they do just in case. I might be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
You go in this trailer, and it's like a trailer. You walk in, and it's got all kinds of air conditioning and fan and stuff, but it's got all these trusses, and I don't even know how many cameras, maybe 300 cameras, like 300 Canon cameras, all hooked up, and they got flashes everywhere.
Matt, are you sure this was for an action figure? What you're describing, you go into a trailer, there's just cameras everywhere.
Yeah, I've got the same thing in my backyard here, but yeah. So yeah, you go in there and they take all the pictures, and it catches you from every angle, and yeah, it's a pretty painless process actually.
You have to stand still, or do they tell you to get in an action pose, or how does that work?
You do. You gotta get in an action figure T pose, and then you gotta turn your hands all these different ways and all this kind of stuff, and then you shuffle left and then shuffle left, and you do a full 360. And there's got to be the poor guy who's like the editor of these things probably was looking at 6,000 photos of me, But yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool tech.
What was it like working with Bill Burr on the set of The Mandalorian?
It's great, man. Everybody was really, really great. Yeah, I had such a good time. I mean, it was so surreal for me to be on the set, the live set of Star Wars. I mean, it was as exciting for me as any other fan walking on the set. I mean, I walked into the ship and I'm like, oh my God, I'm in Star Wars. This is absolutely bonkers. But it was pretty cool. I will say there was a kind of a bit of a fight thing that happened, and I got knocked back by the knife that was thrown, and in the edit, it was all really, really quick. So you didn't really see the whole thing. But as an actor, you have to react to it properly. You get, a knife thrown at you with a high velocity. You got to stumble backwards. Anyway, I stumbled backwards onto the control panel, and I snapped the control panels. Like,
is this the moment right here? It looks like you're about to walk backwards right here. You look a little...
It was right. It was right after that. It was right after that. And so, yeah, I had the knife thrown. I had to react to the knife coming, in my gut. And so I went backwards and, the first take. And like I said, I broke the control panel. And the set dresser was like really mad at me. Like,
oh, really?
He wasn't mad, but he was like, don't do that. Don't touch it. And I'm like, well, I'm just trying, I got to go back. And he's like, well, do it a different way then. He was like not happy that I was breaking the ship.
Oh, rotten actors.
And you want to say to the guy, you're like, oh, I'm not supposed to do that? I'm not supposed to break that off? Yeah. Wasn't
Everyone knows the props are the star of the show. Everyone knows that. How dare you? So when you say you broke it, would you knock a few parts off of it, or did you like karate chop it in half? What happened?
I think, you know what it was? I think when I went back, I think my elbow hit it, and my elbow like went into a fake screen or something that was on the desk, and might be popped off a light or something. Yeah, he wasn't happy, so I tried. I didn't want to tear up the ship, so the next couple of takes I was pretty purposeful and not doing it. But yeah, I think usually like people on set like that, they probably wouldn't kind of be vocal like that with a regular, like a series regular. But this guy had no idea. He had no idea. He just thought I was in there for like 2 lines, and like I was a nobody off the street, probably.
Sure,
I don't know. So
he was talking to the chosen one, for God's sakes. What does he think?
Yeah, he didn't know. He didn't know. That's all right.
Well, you are Anakin Skywalker to now going close to a couple of generations of fans. I mean, that have that the original fans that loved Clone Wars, and then now it's become nostalgia for that generation of fans. And you got little ones that are coming up, and what the beauty I think of that show, just like the films itself, is they're so evergreen, they're so timeless, and there's always going to be a desire for people to fill in that incredible gap, that chapter between those two movies. And you guys did it so well. So I think people are going to be watching you, hearing you as Anakin Skywalker for a long, long time.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I think we made something really special, and and I think people hopefully keep discovering it. And yeah, man, you have no idea how many messages I get. I'm not like trying to toot my own horn, but how many messages of encouragement and positivity I get from fans just saying that, they love this Anakin, and my Anakin made them love Anakin, as a character, and they didn't like him until this. And, it's just, everybody is so kind about it. And I think it just really enriches the story for people. And really, I couldn't be happier about that we were able to do that, and that I was able to help do that. Obviously, I'm just a part of it, but it's been such an amazing
your Anakin
experience.
is sort of like it's the big brother that we always wanted to have, Yeah, the guy that would tell you straight the way it is, but was also, would jump in front of a train for you. And there's something so beautiful about Anakin's purity and his loyalty, and really what puts the guy over the edge at the end is that loyalty that he has to his wife is put on the line, and he's put in a position where he has to choose between the potential of saving the life of his wife or going along with this political machine that he found himself caught up in. And he really is, as George set him out to be with the prequels, a tragic character. Do you agree that he is tragic, or do you see him as a villain, as someone who's played him and voiced a lot of his words?
No, I don't see him as a villain at all, actually. Obviously, as an actor, when you take on a role, even if you're playing a mass murderer, you have to find genuine things to connect to. And I do the same thing with the characters I voice, and obviously Anakin. And I feel so bad for Anakin. I was watching these last couple episodes and just thinking to myself how much of a pawn Anakin is in the whole thing. Really, it's like the big players are the council and Sidious, and he's such a pawn, and he becomes kind of the face of the dark side, but he's just a pawn, and it makes me feel so awful for him, and his life has just been torn apart. And I think Maul said it in the last episode there, that he's being groomed, and like how sad that he's being groomed and he doesn't even know it.
No,
it's just it's so tragic. And George and Dave were brilliant for changing the character a bit and just making him a more likable character in the Clone Wars, because it just makes it all so much more tragic and gives him so much more depth. And the story has so much more depth now that we've seen this other side.
Oh, this is true. This is so true. And plus, knowing what we know about the Star Wars saga in general kind of fuels the way we consume these stories. A lot of people were saying when Anakin marched out in front of those battle droids on the bridge and just, there's only 1,000 of them. Come on. And he marched out there. A lot of people said, hey, we're seeing signs of Vader confidence here in Anakin Skywalker. We're actually starting to pick up on maybe some breadcrumbs that lead us toward a little closer toward the persona of Darth Vader. And we might be seeing it here in its embryonic form as Anakin is displaying these bold acts of confidence. Was that ever anything that was discussed in the vocal booth about, all right, he's coming closer to Vader, so you're going to start being a little more aggressive?
Yeah, I think, I mean, yeah, we definitely talked about that stuff. And like you kind of said, it is in the writing, in the action of what he's doing. Kind of the arrogance does seem high, and the confidence does seem high at that point. And yeah, you can kind of see it that his world is getting rocky in those moments. Ahsoka coming back, but she's not really back. Then they kind of get torn apart. He doesn't get to say what he needs to say to her, and you can start to see that things are getting rocky for him. And yeah, I mean, we definitely talked about that kind of stuff. And Dave is so on purpose with all the storytelling. Yeah.
Yeah,
Is
I
it
love to hear
easy-
that.
Matt, is it easy for you when, if you're, and I'm not, suggesting that you're popping in a Star Wars movie in the Blu-ray player every week, but when you do happen upon, say Revenge of the Sith or something like that, or Episode 2, is it easy for you to connect the character that you've been playing for over a decade with the character that you see on the screen? And do you think you kind of see the films a little bit differently?
I do see the films differently because of what we've done. However, it's still kind of hard for me to connect Hayden Christensen Anakin in Revenge of the Sith to my Anakin, because when you watch Revenge of the Sith, you don't see a whole lot of the playfulness and the compassionate and the caring side necessarily. Maybe I shouldn't say that. I don't know. But and for me, oh yeah, there he is. For me, a lot of our Anakin was built on that bravado and the timing of some of the witty comments, and I feel like we don't see a lot of that in the film.
Right.
So yeah, it's a little hard, because I don't base my performance and my emotions and my feelings on what, like, things that I'm seeing in the film. It's all based on what I have in my scripts and the things that Dave and I have talked about and George and I have talked about and things like that. So,
but I will tell you that the next time I'm watching Revenge of the Sith and I see Hayden making some of those expressions and delivering some of those lines, the idea of him thinking about Ahsoka being on Mandalore, that's not going to be too far from my mind now.
Well, yeah. No, absolutely. I totally agree with you. What I was just kind of getting at in that final point there was that I really don't think about the Revenge of the Sith performance and try to get to that spot. I do what I do because I trust in the storytelling and the writing and Dave's direction and my performance that it's all going to sync up and match up perfectly. So,
yes. What about when fans approach you and say things like, I was always cold on the prequel trilogy until the Clone Wars really opened up those characters to me, and now I can watch the prequel trilogy and actually really enjoy it. Do you have fans come up to you and say things like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the best compliment. Kind of what I was saying a little bit earlier, a lot of times it's more specific to Anakin and to the character itself as opposed to just the films. But I mean, yeah, we've definitely heard that too. And really, that's the highest compliment, because like I had kind of said, I think our big job was to enrich the saga. And that's kind of that's the ultimate compliment if we can do that for people.
Do you have a top 3 list of favorite Anakin moments from the Clone Wars?
Oh, man.
Gosh. I got to put Mortis up there. I have to put Mortis up there.
Yeah.
That was just brilliant, the Mortis trilogy.
I do always say Mortis when people ask me that because it was so different and it was so kind of cerebral and, such dealing in the Force and the mythology of it all was just a really cool, unique episode. And not that I don't love them all, but it's not like they were just doing another battle on another planet. It was so heady, and I really liked that. And I really got to do some interesting vocal performance and kind of stretch that in that arc. So I really always go back to that. But other than kind of like a Mortis arc sticking out, I love the banter between Obi-Wan and Anakin a lot. I really love performing that, and I really love performing the sarcasm and the witty, and that kind of is sort of the same thing in the banter because that's typically when you see it. But,
yeah, right.
That's I love performing the wittiness and the banter. It's a lot of fun for me.
And how much does your chemistry with James Arnold Taylor come into play in all of that banter?
Well, since the beginning, it's we've had such an amazing chemistry, the entire cast, and I think it really shows. And it was important, I think, for Anakin and Obi-Wan, and Anakin and Ahsoka to really care about these relationships. The relationships that Ashley and I have, or that James and I have, um, are really important because it comes through on the microphone. And James and I are great friends, and I really consider him a mentor in a lot of things. Just as a older guy to look up to, someone in the business who is just much more experienced than me, and such an amazing performer, and he's a great dad, and just so I really look up to him for a lot of different reasons. But yeah, I mean, I was talking to Kat the other day and sending texts back and forth about vocal booths, and and talking to Ashley, and we still stay in touch. And the chemistry with the cast has been a special bond that I really can't describe. I mean, as you guys know, when you do something kind of unique with other people, like you guys, you too, you got a special bond that no one's really going to quite understand what that's like.
No one would get it.
No one would get it. So it's like the same thing, it's just a bond that I have with these people that I'll have forever because of the things we've experienced and the things we've been through. And I know I'm kind of rambling on and on here, but just going to these celebrations and going to Disney Star Wars weekends and doing the behind the scenes stuff, and we're back there, counting down until we run out on stage and give a performance, and just we've been through a lot of really cool stuff together.
Yes. And let's talk just a little bit about the future. You mentioned Jupiter's Legacy, which is going to be premiering on Netflix soon. I don't believe it has yet, right? Or is it available?
It's not available.
Okay.
The latest that I've heard was end of this year or possibly early next year. We wrapped up last December. And from what I understand, it is such an effects heavy show, as you can imagine superhero shows are. And, obviously Netflix is doing stuff that looks every bit as good as, and deserves to be on a movie screen. So, it's the whole TV show thing has just really gone away.
Yeah. It's just content now, or whatever you want to call it. Entertainment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not out yet. And I haven't heard anything. I was kind of wondering if they might try to ramp up the editing and get it out here while we're all sitting at home.
That'd be great, wouldn't it?
It'd be amazing. Maybe we could be the next Tiger King.
Oh no! No, you do not want to be the next Tiger King. Let me tell you. Maybe as far as numbers go, okay.
Well, that's
as far as we want to make the comparison.
I don't know. I heard some season 2 storyline, and we're in Oklahoma. It's this weird thing. I don't know.
Superheroes at the zoo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Hey, Matt, we have this thing we like to do with our guests. It's a bunch of questions that were compiled by Yoda, the Jedi Master himself. And I'm not talking about Tom Kane. I'm talking about the actual Yoda.
Okay.
He emails us from time to time.
Really?
Yeah.
Like with a Force computer.
He sends us emails that says like too long the show was this week.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah. Encouraging constructive criticism.
Right.
Yeah. Like Swank should read a book. Things like that. He sends us. But he sent us this collection of questions. It's the Yoda questionnaire.
Yeah.
And we like to ask members of the Clone Wars cast some of these questions. We asked Dee some questions. We asked Ashley. And we asked Jad. Oddly enough, we did not ask the Yoda questions to Tom Kane because that would have just been,
so meta,
awkward.
Worlds colliding.
Yeah.
Too much. He probably already knows the answers to all the questions anyway, because he, of course, is Yoda. But so, Jason, do you have the questions?
I did. As luck would have it, I got it right here.
They're very simple in their by their appearance, man. But the answers you provide could be some of the most complex Star Wars discussion you'll ever.
I don't know about that. Nothing complex comes out of my mouth.
All right, Matt, are you ready for the Yoda questionnaire?
I think.
All right. Okay, we're going to start off easy. Who or what is your favorite Star Wars character?
Han Solo.
Very good.
Okay, and why?
He's just cool. He's cool. And my Anakin has Han in him.
He does.
Mhm.
He most certainly does. He
Right.
most
Yeah.
certainly
When
does.
I auditioned for the role, Dave said, "Give me your best Luke and Han mixed together."
Wow, interesting. I don't think I've ever heard you mention that before. Your
Yeah.
best Luke and Han mixed
Yeah.
together. And so that's
Yeah.
pretty much what we're getting with your take on Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Because we didn't know what characters. I didn't know what character I was auditioning for. So he just said, hey, give me a mix between Luke and Han, and it was an audition scene with R2.
Mm,
Oh, wow.
that's cool.
Now, R2, when he ad-libs in the middle of an audition, does that really throw you off? When he says boop instead of beep, you're like, come on, guy, I'm
Yeah.
trying to get this role here. What are
Get
you
it
doing?
right. Hit your mark.
I can't work with this. I can't work with this.
All right, we've got a follow up here. So, who or what is your least favorite Star Wars character?
C-3PO, hands down.
Oh, C-3PO.
I know.
No, I have a good friend, Matt. I have a good friend that feels the exact same way. Absolutely, and he's a big Star Wars fan. Hates 3PO.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm a Star Wars fan too. I can't deal with him. And it's even, maybe I'm allowed to say that, because I built him.
Well,
But,
that is true. Who else could say
It's
that?
my own fault. I
Right.
made him that way.
I made him that way.
He's just annoying. He's just, I don't know.
Where'd you
just
find
wanna-
that
you wanna tell him to
personality
sit down
chip?
and shut up.
All right, what Star Wars moment, and we're looking at the whole saga, including Clone Wars, all of it. But what Star Wars moment always makes you smile?
Oh man, golly, the opening fanfare, I guess.
Oh, I like that.
That's just a grin of promoted by exhilaration and excitement.
Because you know what we're about to get into. You know we're about to go on an adventure. And I love the star shot and how it pans down every time. I just love that. I don't know. I think it's a good answer too.
That's a great
the moment when I'm
Great answer.
anticipating going to a new Star Wars film, and over the last 5 years we've had plenty of these opportunities. I always anticipate, when I'm looking forward to it, I anticipate that moment when I'm sitting there and that crawl is proceeding with the fanfare. It's like, okay, I'm finally here.
Yeah.
Let's get it on.
Yeah.
And that does put a big smile on my face as well.
Doesn't it? I know. It really is. Yeah, it's true.
Now we're gonna go the other way. We're gonna ask you, what Star Wars moment always makes you sad?
Always makes me sad. Oh man, well, I mean, the obvious is Mustafar, and
Where you are right now,
that whole thing,
right?
I don't know. Now that I'm close with Anakin, obviously, that all the Anakin stuff just makes me sad. Him carrying his mom and all that. It's sad.
It really is. He's had a rough go, this guy.
I know.
All right, we've got one more here for you. If there was a new Star Wars movie to be made, and you were cast in it, and it was to be directed by none other than George Lucas, the maker himself, what would you like to hear him say to you as he says cut on your last scene?
Oh man, that I was definitely intense enough, and I delivered it fast enough.
He would have said that, Matt, if you didn't go and bust up the control panel on the set. He said, so instead he came to you and said, that's coming out of your paycheck, pal.
It's crazy. My agent called and said, we actually got billed from the Mandalorian.
Oh no!
No, you did not.
No.
Thank God. There'll be headlines tomorrow.
Hey, do you want to say hello to Anakin Skywalker?
Oh, who's there? Is that Parker?
Little cameo.
Oh, look at that.
Hey, buddy, how are you?
Say hi.
Hi.
All right.
Hi.
It's Anakin. He looks just like he does in the cartoon, doesn't he?
Is that
Yeah,
the
similar?
guy that you watch in the cartoon?
Angular chin and all. Who is your favorite character from the Clone Wars?
Who's your favorite character from the Clone Wars? Wait, hold on. Can you say it up here? Say it in the microphone.
Yoda.
Oh,
Yoda.
all right, Yoda.
Yoda is
He
a
doesn't
good
play Yoda.
answer.
Not gonna get arguments from Anakin about that.
All right. Good night.
Well,
I love it. Yep, you did it fast enough. You did it intense enough. I've never heard anybody say that to me. So, let alone movie directors.
not even your wife, huh?
Nope. Oh, Matt, it's always great to talk to you, man. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're a busy guy with the little one and the new house and all those honeydew projects that are probably coming after you fast and furious.
Oh yeah. I love coming on with you guys, and thanks for having me on. And it's always so much fun to hang out with just other Star Wars fans and just kind of talk, like you guys say, talk the wars.
Yeah,
Talk the wars.
Say it loud, say it proud.
Yeah.
All right, Brett. Well, the best to you and the family, and stay safe, stay healthy.
Yes.
And as we learn more about Jupiter's Legacy, keep us in the know. We'd love to have you come back on and talk about it once we have a chance to see it.
I would love that. So you guys stay safe yourself, and keep doing what you're doing and making this awesome content for us to digest while we're all hanging in our houses.
Right
Awesome,
on.
man.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
All right, take
guys,
care, my
thank
friend.
you.
Good night.
All right.